First thing I want to talk about before we get into content of class is focused note taking. And this is something you should have learned about during Welcome Week, but I just wanted to expand upon it a little bit. This is a concept first developed by AVID, so it's certainly not my creation, and I'm not taking credit for it. I just wanted to speak to you about it. So focus note taking is a really important process because we take notes often during lecture in class, but that's not really the only time we should be taking notes. We should be taking notes. We should be using a science notebook as a living document, a living record of what we're doing in class. So you should be taking notes about all the activities we do in class, not just Mr. Bishop talking at you. And you know that's taking them exactly in the moment might be difficult, and maybe not for you. I know I was more of a listener, but what I should have done is I should have, once I was done listening and I had some time, and I'll try to be conscious of this, give you, I should have taken time to reflect and put down some thoughts once I had listened to that lecture, or I had done that activity or lab. So sometimes the notes might be taken immediately after or later that night. Closer to you doing the activity is better, but you want to try to take notes as contemporaneously, that's at that moment, as possible. And then, nice shot of my bald spot. You want to arrange information in a way in your notes that is useful for you. I know that when I was a student taking notes, I kind of did this Roman numeral and indentation, and I didn't really know why I was doing that. It was just the way my teachers in school had modeled for me to take notes, so that's what I did. That's not necessarily the best way to take notes. Now, AVID has a few ways of suggesting you take notes, and these might not be great for you either. If you've got a system that works for you, then do that. If you've never tried one of these systems before, and these are my notes about note taking, very meta. But these are possible options, and I'll post information about these, but there's Cornell Notes, which some of you might be familiar with from some other courses, and it's sort of dividing your paper into a topic section on the left margin and a note section on the other 2/3 of the paper, and then leaving about a fifth of the paper at the bottom for a summary of that page of notes. Cornell Notes can be useful if they work for you, but they don't necessarily work for everybody. There's also sketch notes, and again, this is kind of an example, my notes, of sketch notes. I'm not the most artistically gifted, but these are some little sketches and organizing information in a way that kind of makes sense in my brain. And I'll post a short video about what sketch notes are to give you a little more info on those. There's 2-column notes, and that's, again, splitting your page into 2 columns. There's 3-column notes, and splitting your page into 3 columns and having a topic section, a notes section, and a third section for maybe going back and adding questions or referencing different things we have done in class, or space to expand upon. But you want to choose, and you can try each of these and see what works best for you. But my method of note taking, and I will post my notes like this on our course, but our course canvas, but that might not be the best for your style of learning. You want to take notes that work for you. Um, you don't want to take notes just because I put these things on this video or in this slide. If you think none of this information is useful to you, then you shouldn't write it down. If there are pieces of information that you find useful, you should write those down. That's what notes really are. They're pieces of information that are useful to you. And we all learn different ways at different paces. You also want to determine the purpose of your notes. And usually the goal of any page of notes is a learning objective or an essential question. And as I put here, these are kind of interchangeable. They kind of go back and forth from one thing to the other. Since the College Board provides learning objectives for each topic, for example, we've got topic 1.1 here from our first unit, and the College Board provides learning objectives. So I'll be using learning objectives, but you can easily turn them into essential questions. So, excuse me. The learning objective from the College Board for topic 1.1 is explain how the availability of resources influences species interactions. And you can really easily change this into an essential question of how do the availability of resources influence species interactions. So that's determining the purpose of your notes, that learning objective or essential question. That should be at the top page, no matter what format you choose. That should be at the top of the page so you know what the objective or what question that page of notes is trying to answer. Revising notes. So as I have done here in my example, you should go through and revise some of your notes. So I did some underlines, I did some squares or circles. I didn't highlight this page of notes, but highlighting circle, important points, key concepts, things that, stood out to you or you think you might need to remember or you think are important to your learning. And then you should share those notes digitally for your peers. And I will put a space where we can share our notes and collaborate together, because again, this class is really going to be a collaborative process and effort so that we can all be successful on the AP test. And here's another document, and this is from AVID and I'll attach this as well, but this is thinking about your notes and processing notes after you've taken them. And if you're taking notes digitally, you might be able to reorganize them. I'm a person who likes pen and paper. Once it's down, you can't really reorganize it. I am an advocate of not erasing or tearing out pages of notes because you screwed them up. Leave your mistakes. Mistakes are places to learn. I obviously, in my example of notes, made some mistakes and I left them. Those are things to go back to. The next step is, after creating and revising, trying to summarize your notes. So no matter what format you should use, you should be able to write a brief synopsis at the end of that notes for that topic section, to summarize what it is you've learned from those, whether it was a lecture like this, or if it was a video, or if it was an in-class activity. You should summarize and what you learned. And hopefully it should address that essential question. Evaluate. This is a process I know I never did as a student, and I wish I had, because I think it will make, this is where I'm talking about turning your notes into a useful resource for you, is Um, think about the notes as a whole. Pull together the most important aspects of your notes, and you're thinking about them. And well, this is the summary. Um, Here, connecting thinking. Analyze your notes, use inquiry to make connections, and deepen your content. Ask questions of your own notes. As you're reviewing your notes, if something's unclear in that part of your notes, write a question in there. What did I mean right here? If it should be in a different color, or if you want to use post-it notes or highlights, but going back and putting notes on notes is an important part of the process of note taking. So, are there gaps in the knowledge? Review the essential question. Is there still parts of that essential question that are left unanswered in those notes? What parts? Ask those questions. And then the last part of that is slide 5. So that is evaluating your notes, and then put your notes to use as a resource or learning tool to help you apply and demonstrate what you've learned. So again, that's that summary process, and you can add references to activities we've done. But that's a little bit about the focus note-taking process, and hopefully through this process we can all be successful this year.